Hello YouTube. It's been a little while since I've uploaded a new video to this channel, but I'm going to remedy that by, giving you this lesson. So this video is about two kinds of operators. There's, this one, right? The two question marks. And then there's two question marks and equal signs. So there's an article which I'll put in the description that explains them and talks about them a little bit. These are new operators to the C# language, and they have a couple of advantages. To prepare for this tutorial, I created a person class, right, which is very, very simple, right? Name, age, two properties, right? A name property, an age property, a default empty constructor, a fully qualified constructor, an overridden toString method. That's it, right? So actually, for the sake of neatness, I'm going to put this in its own file, right? There we go. So now it's in person.cs, right? Let's go back to program.cs. So we got it here still. So let's make two person objects, right? We'll create person, and we're not going to instantiate this one. We'll create another one called person1, I guess. We'll make it new person. So we'll name this one Jim, and I guess he's 22, right? So we have two person objects. Now, as you can see, there's already a green underline under person because we haven't instantiated it. If we were, for example, to do a statement like, I made a minor error where I tried to reference the name property of an uninstantiated object called person of type person. This makes the code uncompilable. However, if an object is null, that is, if it is equal to null, it can be compiled. The code can be still compiled. But this can lead to runtime exceptions, as I will soon demonstrate. In defiance of the rules, just set person equal to null, right? Well, now it lets us do this, but if we run the program, it gets us a null reference exception, which is basically equivalent to a null pointer exception in Java. It's basically the same thing. It's like, hey, wait a moment, you have not instantiated person. We don't know what person.name is, let alone what person is. Why are you doing this? Okay. Cool. Whereas if we do person1.name, it'll very clearly show us the name is Jim. Okay. Very nice. Very cool. Now, let's talk about this, these two question marks, right? I could write person, person1, right? What will this do? It will evaluate whether or not person is null. If person is null, then it'll go with it. Otherwise, it will go with person1 here. So console.writeLine will only write out one of them, right? Console.writeLine will write whichever one is not null. First, it'll evaluate this. Is it null? If it is, it will proceed to evaluate this one. So if we run it, we'll see it will write out person1. Now, the thing is about C# is that if you have an overridden toString method, it will actually, in general, if you try to print an object, it will call up the toString method regardless if it's overridden or not. Its default behavior, I believe, is to actually, hold on, let's try commenting this out. So I want to, okay, there we go. Let's try again. So yeah, see, the default behavior in C# if you try to output an object is it'll just give the name of the object. So it'll be like the namespace dot the class, and that's what it'll output, right? That's if you don't override the toString. But we want to override the toString from the original object class. So now we get person1, and it like outputs all the information we gave it. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. So we run this. It says that. Okay. So then there's the other one that we want to do. It's question mark equals. But before we do that, we should investigate what happens if both of these objects are null, right? So I'm going to create another person, right? Person2. Person2 is also null, right? What happens if we, try to do this, what effectively is like a, what happens if we try to do this evaluation now? Let's see what happens, right? It outputs nothing because both were null. Does not crash the program, does not result in an exception. Amazing. Now we know what happens if we end up in this situation. So now we're going to use question mark equals. So what that is, let's say you have an expression if person is null, person equals so that's what this is, right? You can do this, by the way. You can determine if something is true or false. It's kind of like this. It's a mnemonic device, I guess. So I can do that and then console that right line person. I can do that. So now it says Janet is 34 years old. Whereas I could replace this whole line right here, right? I could greatly reduce the amount of code. So Control C, Control K, Control C. I can write person question mark equals new person Janet 53 or something. I don't know. So if person turns out to be null, then assign it this. That's what this does, right? It's really convenient. I just like wiped out 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of code by using this right here. That's how powerful that is. But what if I try doing this to something that is already defined, like person1, right? Person1's already defined. Will it rewrite it? No. It will not rewrite it. But I didn't write. I made a mistake. Okay. See? So it only does that, right? It only assigns it the value of this new person object with the name of Janet with the age of 53 if this left-hand variable, right? This variable on the left-hand side, person1, if that is null, then it will assign it this new person object instance. Otherwise, nope. It'll just ignore that other part. So that's how we got person1 equals Jim is 22 years old. That's how we got that. Very nice. Very nice. One more thing, right? You could create yourself a list, right? Imagine this. You have a list, right, of all these different person objects. I don't know. You want to... Maybe it's actually an array. Let's say person... Oh, look at that. Visual Studio no longer says persons. It says people. It's really nice. Whoops. There we go. So now we can put person. Person1. Person2. Alright, so now we have all these people. We're going to have a little bit of a we're gonna go through this, right? For int I equals 0, I is less than people dot length I plus plus. So in here, we're just going to assign, we're going to instantiate all the variables that are not already instantiated. So we're going to use our very new tool right here, right? Our null assignment operator. I guess that's what to call it. That's the most obvious name to me, but we'll look at the article in a moment. But we can take, you know, people I equals new person, and I don't know, we'll name them, we'll name everyone who is not already instantiated Janet. Janet's now 78. She's growing, she's aging rapidly. It's not doing her well. And then we're going to do a for each loop to you know, demonstrate the changes we've made. So we're going to go person p in people, right? And this will be console.writeLine statement, and we'll just write p because we can do that, as we've demonstrated, with the use of the toString method. So let's go forth and, whoops, I pressed the number 6. I keep doing that. I meant to press F5, but I keep accidentally pressing F6. So here we go. So now it takes every person object that was null and makes it equal to, you know, a new instance of person. What I probably should have done was like create like a random name generator or something that just gives us like a different name. But whatever. We got this. So Jim is 22 years old. Janet is 78 years old, and then I guess we have another Janet who just happens to be also 78 years old or something. But look at all that. We did this, right? Remember, the long way of doing this before would have been to say if people... Whoa, what in tarnation was that? Goodness grief. This is how you would write out this if you wanted to be more verbose and do it the old-fashioned way. This is the old-fashioned way, right? Entirely equivalent code. Exactly the same output, right? But this way is faster. Come on, let's be real. This way is faster. So let's annihilate that. Be sure to check out the link in the description for the article. Anyway, if you liked this video, feel free to like and/or subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.